Today, we'll be talking about PFAS contamination within fish and crabs in Los Angeles County marine and freshwater sites. Created by Darlene Hernandez,
Amy Contreras.
Alan Limones.
And Teresa DeLeon.
PFAS, otherwise known as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, better known as PFAS, are synthetic chemicals that are commonly used in manufacturing items we use every day. PFAS were used to make pesticides last longer. They're used to make fabrics stain resistant. They're used to make cookware that's non-stick, as well as food packaging that's waterproof and grease resistant. While PFAS were made to somehow improve our lives, somehow PFAS are getting inadvertently released into the environment. Chemicals end up in the environment through runoff when rainwater or irrigation carries them from agricultural fields, industrial sites, or urban areas into water bodies like rivers, lakes, and even the ocean. This runoff can contain various pollutants, including pesticides, fertilizers, and industrial chemicals, which can harm aquatic ecosystems and potentially affect human health through contaminated water sources. Among these pollutants are forever chemicals like PFAS, which do not break down easily and can persist in the environment for long periods of time, posing significant challenges in regards to management. PFAS, known as forever chemicals, are called this because of their persistence. They have been getting into humans as they drink contaminated water and eat contaminated food. PFAS exposure has been linked to many chronic diseases like immune dysfunction, liver and kidney damage, developmental problems, and infertility.
In both Palos Verdes and Santa Monica, a chemical dump site was discovered, where waste was being actively discharged into the ocean until 1972, when the Marine Protection Research and Sanctuaries Act was passed. In the subsequent years, extensive research focused on DDT, while the effects of other chemicals remained largely unexplored. Information regarding our study subject, PFAS, has unfortunately received limited attention. The Heal the Bay Angler Outreach Program was designed to educate pier and shore anglers in Los Angeles and Orange County about the risks of consuming fish contaminated with toxins such as DDT and PCBs, as part of a far-reaching public education and outreach program. It is important to note that there is very little research conducted on PFAS in LA County.
As mentioned before, Heal the Bay focuses on specific chemicals, but according to previous research, there are more chemicals that are found in these wild fish. There are various derivatives that fall under the umbrella that is PFAS. This graph is highlighting PFOS because, as we can see, the shade of blue circled on the far right side is a color that is present in all the fish. This means that sulfonates are commonly seen in various species of fish. As more fish are being consumed, the bioaccumulation of PFAS in fish is becoming more alarming. As seen in the graph above, fish consumption has steadily increased since the 1980s. As these chemicals accumulate in bodies of fish over time, higher levels of contamination pose health risks to consumers. Increased fish consumption exacerbates the potential for human exposure to PFAS, highlighting the urgent need for measures to mitigate their presence in aquatic ecosystems and food sources.
As previously stated, with an increase in consumption of fish, this can also lead to an increased consumption of PFAS. And through PFAS bioaccumulation in fish, there can be a variety of disruptions within the endocrine system of the consumers. For example, the blockage of hormones, which leads to imbalances in hormone levels and functions that can cause adverse effects on reproductive health and developmental processes. The consumption of PFAS can also lead to testicular and kidney cancers, according to Steeland et al. And with this concern in PFAS in the LA County, it brings us to our study's objectives. Objective number 1, are PFAS found in local fishes? Objective number 2, are PFAS found in both freshwater and marine sites? And objective number 3, are anglers potentially consuming fishes with PFAS?
And with that, we decided to choose our study sites to be popular fishing piers along the coast, like Santa Monica, Palos Verdes, Malibu, Venice, and we also went to a freshwater lake in Verde Narrows Park, known as Lake Lake. For our methodology, we collected fish samples at the 5 sites from recreational anglers, samples were placed in PFAS-free bags and sent to a commercial analytical chemistry lab to measure PFAS levels. For all samples, we looked at PFAS levels in the muscle tissue, since it's what people usually eat, and for a few samples, we also looked at liver or viscera. These organs are most likely for detecting PFAS. Another thing we did was conduct comprehensive surveys involving 39 local anglers. Through these interviews and the collection of fish and crab samples, we obtained comprehensive data regarding fishing frequency and consumption habits among the surveyed anglers.
To give you guys a findings overview, we screened for 28 variants of PFAS, and at least one of those 28 compounds were found in all fish. This means that no fish was inherently clean. PFOS is specific was the one found in all of the fish.
With our collected data, we found that all sampled fish, both fresh and saltwater, had detectable levels of PFAS. However, we noticed there was one sampler, a top smelt, that had an alarmingly high level of PFOS, and we considered them the outlier. Through the Great Lakes EPA, we found a threshold of consumption. This is relevant to our study as it shows that some of the samples had levels that are above thresholds of consumption. We found that the top smelt had the highest average PFAS levels. Without this outlier, opali had the highest average PFAS levels compared to the other species. We did comparison between paired species of crabs and fish. We compared the muscle and viscera amongst crabs and the muscle and liver between the fish. We found that liver contained the most contamination.
We also compared average contamination levels that are varied by location. As we can see with the outlier on the left, that Santa Monica has on average the most contamination, and on the right, without the outlier, we see that Venice and Palos Verdes are the top two most on average polluted locations. This is important because we can see that the PFAS patterns match DDT and PCB patterns, which are also known as chemicals that are harmful to human health. This is a map that shows the high and medium concentrations of DDT and PCB along the south coast of California. As our data shows, the PFAS patterns of appearance are similar to that of DDT and PCB, two other highly toxic pollutants found in marine ecosystems.
A vast majority of fish collected at each one of these sites contained sulfonates, therefore emphasizing previous study findings.
Fish advisories commonly found near fishing sites provided by the OEHHA show 5 species of fish that we sampled, those being jack smelt, opali, surf perch, top smelt, and white croaker. With that, we found that the opali had the highest average contamination on the fish advisory compared to the rest of the species.
Through our informal interview process, we had 39 anglers interviewed with 13 speaking Spanish, roughly 33%. In total, nearly 77% of all anglers consumed their catch. Amongst that, 71.1% spoke English, and the remaining 28.9% spoke Spanish. PFAS contamination was found at each of the 5 sites, including marine and freshwater sites. Through our angler interviews, we confirmed over 76% of anglers interviewed ate their catch. Measurements in fish and crab muscle tissues showed PFAS in all species. Looking ahead, there's a need for further research. These are only preliminary results, and we need further research to better understand the extent of other chemical contaminants. In addition to that, we need to fund public health initiatives and educate communities on the effects of eating contaminated fish and propose alternatives that are cost-effective, putting anglers and their families less at risk. Thank you to all of those who made this possible.
Guys, we did that in 9 minutes.
Period.